Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's message this week's version of the message from the truck. I'm the Reverend Paul Poulton from St. Augustine of Canterbury Anglican Church here in Windsor. I know that most of the folks watching this are members of our parish family from St. Augustine, but I also know there are a few strangers who stop by from time to time to catch the message. So welcome to everyone as we continue down our journey on this absolutely beautiful Saturday afternoon. It's about 24, 25 degrees outside. There's a light breeze blowing. The sun is shining. It's an absolutely amazing gift from God this afternoon as we continue our journey together. Just a couple of quick announcements for this week. Just a reminder that tomorrow morning we will be gathered at 10 o'clock as per usual for our Facebook Live worship. I'll be coming to you live from the building of St. James, Roseland Anglican Church here in Windsor. And you'll be joined by the usual rectors, the Reverend Elise from the parish of Southern Trinity, Reverend Charlotte from St. James, and Reverend Robert from All Saints in Windsor here. So we all look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning as we share in prayer and praise and celebration and song and everything else that we've become accustomed to since the middle of March. The other couple of things, first of all, if you're a member of Parish Council at St. Augustine, there will be a Parish Council meeting this coming Wednesday evening. There'll be an email to follow about that shortly, just a quick reminder for all of you. And we look forward to our last meeting of the program year, which I know has been a little bit disrupted, but that is our last program year meeting on Wednesday for Parish Council. So we'll do that via Zoom and connect with one another one more time before our summer break for Parish Council. The only other thing that I wanted to share is just a little bit of a teaser. There has been some work going on in the background about a possible car rally. So this is one of those events where you head out with a partner, whether it's your spouse or whoever else, somebody in your social bubble that you're allowed to be now allowed to be partnered with, would go out and would go from point to point, different landmarks throughout the city and county in Windsor, Essex County. Just an opportunity for some sharing in ministry, some sharing in social time, and just an opportunity to have an intentional time away from your house, away from your TV, away from your living room, and so on. So that is in the works. Could be a week or two yet before it gets rolling, but we're working on rolling. See, catch that? Yeah, I did. But we'll possibly be doing that in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that. The only other thing I wanted to share is really briefly, had an opportunity a number of years ago. So as many of you know, I spent a lot of time in youth ministry, and in that youth ministry role that I've been part of, I've had the opportunity to share in lots of different events and meetings and so on. And I had an opportunity to go to an event called Stronger Together a number of times, and it was a gathering of Anglican and Lutheran youth leaders, diocesan leaders primarily, not typically parish leaders, but diocesan leaders from across Canada. And we'd get together and we'd have meetings and conversations and workshops and brainstorming and all of that kind of thing as to what it was that we could do to help improve the engagement of youth ministry throughout the country. Anyhow, while I was there one time, we had an opportunity to share in some icebreaker activities. And one of the icebreaker activities that we took part in was we had the chance to share what were our favorite pair of shoes. It seems like an odd question, right? And I thought it was particularly odd, being someone who really doesn't care about shoes all that much. But then I got thinking about it, and at that particular day, I happened to be wearing a pair of boots, surprisingly enough, wearing cowboy boots. And the pair of boots that I was wearing were a pair of brown leather boots, and they had a bit of an orange tint to the leather, and there was a little bit of an orange strip in the sole. They were very identifiable boots. Everyone knew that these were Paul's boots. But the question was asked, what are your favorite pair of shoes and why? And I got thinking about it, and I had to state without question that this particular pair of boots were my favorite pair of shoes. They were comfortable. They fit me just right. I'd been wearing them for years at this point, so they were just nicely molded to my feet. But the thing that I loved the most about those shoes is where they had taken me. That particular pair of boots had traveled with me all the way through seminary. They had traveled with me at that point to my graduation events from both of my degrees. They had traveled with me to my ordination event when I was ordained a deacon. And they were scheduled to join with me that spring in the ordination to the priesthood service that was going to take place. And it was amazing that those boots had journeyed with me that far, and I realized that on Monday of this coming Monday, the 15th of June, is the 8th anniversary of my very first day in a parish. So 8 years ago that I started parish ministry as the layperson in charge at the time, but eventually as the rector at the church that I was serving. And those boots were with me then too. Those boots gathered a lot of dust in their travels, whether it was going to parish visits, whether it was walking with people in the parish parking lots, whether it was just gathering with people in different places. Those boots gathered a lot of dust, and they shared a lot of stories, and they told a lot of things. This week's gospel message talks about the dust on your shoes. Jesus sends out the disciples, and he sends them out telling them, don't bother taking an extra tunic, don't bother taking an extra bag, don't bother taking an extra pair of sandals. Just go out into the world and share the gospel. And if you come across a place where you're welcomed, and if you offer your peace to those people and they respond back with a peace back to you, that you should stay in that place and preach and share the good news and share in the promise that is given to you, that is, that you will be provided for. So share in a meal, share in a glass of water, and that kind of thing. But if a place decides that they don't want to return your peace, then knock the dust off your boots and carry on. That could mean a lot of different things, and I don't want to go into that particular message right at this second, because we're going to talk about that tomorrow morning when we gather for worship. But what I want to talk about is how much dust has collected on your sandals, on your boots, on your shoes, from proclaiming the gospel. Remember, the disciples were sent out, and the dust that was going to gather on their sandals would be from going out and proclaiming the good news of Christ and baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The dust that was gathering on their shoes was the dust of ministry, the dust of evangelism, the dust of telling. The dust that had gathered on my favorite pair of shoes as I reflected on them that day at Stronger Together was the dust that had gathered in preparation for ministry and sharing the good news, and also in other places in my world, going to the grocery store and picking up a bundle of lumber at the local hardware store. But all of those things, I like to think that the dust that was gathering was the dust gathered in places where I was telling the good news even when I wasn't thinking about it. That those shoes constantly were a reminder for me of my responsibility to tell the story, my responsibility to share the good news of Jesus Christ through my words and actions. And that was a pretty important pair of shoes. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What is your favorite pair of shoes? What have you got in your closet that you just put on and you know that those are the right shoes to put on? And how have those shoes helped you tell the gospel story? And if they haven't done that for you, maybe now's your chance to put on those shoes and go and tell the story. It's time to get comfortable in our shoes as we continue to walk and journey with Christ, as we continue to be the church deployed in the world, walking, being out there, not gathered and huddled inside a building, but out on the streets, out in our backyards and on our front porches, telling the good news to all of those we meet. My friends, this is the good news, and you are called to proclaim it. So go into the world in your favorite shoes, gather the dust of the world that's around you, and let that dust be a reminder to you of the good news you've shared. For now, as I've shared before, keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. Blessings to all of you from the truck this week, as I figured out a way to not overheat the camera. As we continue to share in ministry, blessings be with all of you. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Take care of each other. God bless. Bye for now.